Hello everybody, and you're welcome to a very unique episode of WopeCar Talks. This is one out of 8 episodes that's celebrating something incredible. That's WopeCar turning 8 years. Yes, that's 8 brilliant years of allowing us travel smoother, smarter, and giving us the freedom to go places. My name is Mami Yosin, and today I'm privileged to be speaking to one of my favorite people in Accra. In the last 3 years, I've been given the opportunity to speak to innovators, builders, and doers within the city. And this was only made possible by a select group in the city, that's Impact Hub Accra. Today, I've been given the privilege to speak to one of the founders of that institution. He is known as an Any-Work Avenger. He is the king of paragliding, and he is a pounded yam advocate. He's Kelechi Ofoegbu, a builder, an innovator, and our next guest on WopeCar Talks. So stick with us, we'll be right back. Welcome to WopeCar Talks. Today we have COO and co-founder of Impact Hub Accra, Kelechi Ofoegbu. We're going to be talking all things innovation and humanizing the person behind the organization, basically. Hi, Kelechi.
Hi, Mami. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. Why are you being all so serious? Relax.
Me, mom. Yeah.
Right.
Am I serious?
Yes, you are.
Wow.
Today.
Hi.
This is not energy on a regular.
I promise I'm not that serious.
It's nice to have you.
Very nice to have you too.
And it's nice to have you in Osu. So before we started shooting, you're telling me something about Google, wires, cables.
Yes.
And Impact Hub Accra.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's got me thinking, like, you guys have been here for over a decade.
Yes.
How has that been with regards to where you started from and where you are now and all of that? Let's start with that.
Yeah. That's a very good question. So precisely, we've been here for about 13 years now in a couple of months. 13 years, April, May, June, July. So 13 years, 3 months.
They're about, yeah.
About what? 9 hours and a couple of minutes and seconds. Right. I had pointed to you 2 things. One was the taxi rank.
Yes.
And then the cement work on the floors, because one, the taxi ranks are disappearing, primarily because the way people interact with ride-hailing apps and being able to move is changing. In the past, we had a lot of taxis. We have increasingly less taxis, and I think ride-hailing is the future.
That's true.
And then what I showed you earlier was we still have these cement fillings on the floor, so plastered floor.
Yeah.
That shows where about half a decade ago, we had invested in the Google Fiber network. So there is a base station somewhere on the ocean, by the beach. And the process of that investment meant that they had to dig all the way from the beach to bring Google Fiber into our neighborhood, now called C-Squared.
Wow.
And so now every company in that area, and by extension, so C-Squared is one of the Google or Alphabet type companies that invest in a lot of fiber infrastructure. And we were literally the first to get it in the neighborhood because we were working with innovators who needed very specific like speed and access. It used to be very disheartening, the kind of internet speeds we had at the consumer level, especially working with entrepreneurs that were building a lot of tech products. But yeah, that changed. Bringing that into the neighborhood changed the game for us significantly, and I think now it's commonplace. But so it's like
that's true.
It's old glory more or less. But at the time, man, gigabit connectivity changed the game for us. It's fun memories. It cost a lot, but it was worth it to experience what it was then. And now we've not gone back since then. So. Well, depending on who you ask. Depending on who you ask.
But I mean, it's safe to say you've been in the game for like 13 years. So that's a testament to something, right?
Yes.
So, okay, for a second, let's put Impact Hub aside. Let's put tech founders aside. And let's look at Kelechi as a human being. Before you founded Impact Hub Accra, or co-founded, I know that you were an IT bro. I feel like you still are. Yeah, but that's a topic for another day. So who is the man behind that, or before Impact Hub? And how has your journey been like over the years before that?
Very good. Another good questions. You're always asking very good questions, and now asking how do I answer this one? So we can start from my name is Kelechi Victor Ofoegbu, and in my line of work, people call me either Kelechi or Victor, depending on who you're asking, and it's the same person. To clarify a few doubts, I am Nigerian by birth. I was born in Nigeria. However, I had
by blood.
I had the privilege of growing up between Ghana and Nigeria almost simultaneously, practically at the same time. I went to a bit of high school in Nigeria, a bit of primary school in Nigeria, a bit of primary school in Ghana, a bit of high school in Nigeria, a bit of high school in Ghana, and then I did my university here in Ghana. And in all that period, I guess one of the things that really was foundational to me was just this very distinct geography and culture and association with people that made me, I would say, a lot more grounded in the two respective cultures. So while in Nigeria it's there's the proverbial aggression and whatnot, in Ghana there's also like a civility and just this boko, let's all be coming down. And I think I embody those in different aspects of my life. And I think that in a lot of ways that has inspired or has gone to inspire a lot of the work that I've been a part of. To be fair, the Ghana-Nigerian connection did not always start with me. It started with my grandparents, actually. They were the first to visit when it was the Gold Coast. And then since then, historically, everybody where I come from, it's actually a very common thing. I grew up with Ghanaian teachers and friends even before I ever came to Ghana for the first time. So it wasn't entirely new to me. But when I moved, I think eventually the two cultures really helped form my upbringing. I grew up mostly in the Osu area.
Okay.
So I learned to speak Ga. Ga was my, Igbo was my first language, English second, and then Ga was my third language I learned to speak. So yeah, I'm very much
embedded.
Nigerian, Ghanaian, depending on who you ask. It's a funny irony whenever I visit my family in Nigeria, they're like, yeah, that Ghanaian guy. And then when I'm here, obviously my first name is like, that Niger guy. So it's an interesting one to live both realities. That's me.
That is interesting. I mean, I get it when we go for meetings and events and everybody's like, are you Nigerian? And they're trying to actually understand. But I think about it in the sense that Nigeria is gritty. Like the people are resilient. They're like, no, by hell or high water, they're going to do this. Yeah. And then you have the calm. So having a mix of both, I feel like that's actually really good.
I think so too.
Balanced, I guess.
I think so too. It can be misunderstood, but I think.
I mean, yeah, fair.
I think they have the thing about everywhere anybody comes from is that there are strengths.
Right.
There are pros and cons, strengths and weaknesses, and the beauty of being, I've been labeled a third culture kid of sorts, of growing across multiple cultures, that you get to pick and choose the best a la carte, the best palette that works for you.
Right. Okay, so thinking of how you grew up.
Yes.
When you think of young Kelechi, will he be able to recognize big Kelechi, big Kills?
Wow, that's a good question. He will struggle a little bit because I think I've become a lot more patient. In fact, probably almost to a fault.
Okay.
It's a very impatient young person.
Okay.
And for many reasons. But yeah, I would say that a younger version of me will be surprised, initially confused, then second surprised, and then third accept that the older version, the older version has become a lot more patient, maybe too patient, because I think we've spent time we've gone through enough life processes to learn about who we are, who I am as a person, and also learn from others especially learn from others who have come before me, because as a young person, sometimes there's a tendency to think that you know it all, but the reality is that this pattern has been...
Yep, it's been done.
It's been done multiple times before we got here, and it makes sense to listen to and hear those who have done it before you, even if it's not in the same version, but at least be inspired and know, okay, perhaps it's better to actually be a lot more patient.
Yeah.
Because, Charlie, in the end we'll move on to the next plane of existence. So let's do what we can to enjoy here.
Let's talk a little about building things.
Right.
You weren't always co-founder.
No.
You've been building literally as a tech bro, right?
Maybe we can not sensationalize the term tech bro,
okay.
but I've been in the technology entrepreneurship space.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So
Tech bro has a to it.
Okay. So you've been in the tech entrepreneur space for a while. So let's look at that trajectory leading up to co-founding Impact Hub Accra. What would you say has been a common theme in the different sorts of building that you've been doing, and what's one project that you say is a testament to that?
Right. So I will say that where we are today is, in a lot of ways, it's also a function of sort of we have this saying, or I have this saying, that we always hear because we are standing on the shoulders of those who have come before us. For me it's very particular. Like, I rarely say that I did it all by myself, because the truth is I didn't. I've always had friends, family, lovers, haters, a mix of different people who have either encouraged or discouraged me at different points, and that has been all part of the evolution. Repeat that question again.
So I'm asking you about building in general, and the general theme you've seen whilst building.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Something that has been following through every single thing that you've been doing, and maybe a project that is a testament to that. Yeah.
So there perhaps, if I was to summarize, there are three. I always like the numbers 2 and 3 because at least you can remember the important things and then don't forget them. I've liked the idea of community. Community has always been a big part of my evolution as a founder. As a matter of fact, when we started the Impact Hub, my actual proper official title was community manager. So for the first half a decade of our growth, my job was to build and maintain the community, because without the community, we really didn't exist. And so I did funny things, like offering people free spaces. They had booked spaces for tech events and other places. I'm like, my guy, let's do it here. We'll not charge you for anything. So much so that at some point my team had to call me and ask me if I'm for the team or who am I for? Am I for the Impact Hub? I'm for the companies that come to do things in our space. Community has always been a big part, primarily not just because of growing a company, but it has been part of my growing up as a person. I've been very fortunate everywhere that I have grown up. There was always a community of people, family, friends that has been a part of that process. And so I heavily respect that. And I think that the second thing will be about maybe systems. It's great initially when there's enthusiasm and there's fire in the belly to get started, but ultimately you rise and fall. The excellence levels, the failures, everything rises and falls on the systems that you build over time. And I think that systems is the second order that kicks in after you've started the excitement and people have actually bought in. I'll say the third, and we've seen that in our evolution. Everybody knows Impact Hub Accra, but almost no one realizes there's been two different evolutions before it became Impact Hub Accra. And is there a future where it evolves to other things? I don't know, but it probably is possible. And I'll say the third will be the sticking to the guts, not giving up. That can be deeply personal. Because it also it requires you to know when to say bye-bye to some things or to give up on some things. But it also requires you to know, the other side is that sometimes you're the only one that is seeing the future, or you and your small group of people are the only ones seeing the future. And so you need that reality distortion field to be even stronger for you than anyone else, to eventually punch through the initial obstacles and show that this vision is real. And if you mix these three together, I would say that the very evident thing it has given birth is the Impact Hub, Impact Hub Accra itself. because it is at the heart of that entrepreneurial journey for me. And I dare say, not just for me, but also for the team, Impact Hub the Impact Hub Accra specifically represents this platform that we had built. We had really spent a lot of time and energy and effort and resources into building that has reshaped and redefined how the technology and entrepreneurship landscape in Ghana is supported. We're obviously not the only players in the market, but I think that our work has been seminal and has really defined so much so that one of the ways you really think about how things have become real is that, and I would say in the last two presidential cycles, you almost saw hubs talked about in the respective manifestos. Obviously, it talked in a way that is very political and is very, relevant to the party in question. But in what it really, the way I see it, what it does accept is that it's a coming of age thing where young entrepreneurs building technology-enabled production services are now accepted as a viable path. That process is acceptable as a viable path for growth and development for young people, and that wasn't always the case, quite frankly.
That's true.
Yeah.
So
that would be a bit of a summary for me on that front.
That's true. Okay. So when I think of the three things that you mentioned, the gut feeling, community, and systems, I would say, just from my viewpoint, having worked with Impact for about 3 years, the one time that I got to see all those things come to play was during the 10th anniversary. Seeing people come from when it was Hub Accra to Slice Base. There were people mentioning, oh, well, Kelechi, we used to do this together. And I'm like, okay, but where? They're like, in a small space in the corner. I said, okay, that's great. And it was fun. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Because, it's great to have people, and usually we do that in silos, but we are able to bring everybody together, able to share so many different stories that all pertain to like innovation over the years within the city. And it was a beautiful thing for me to see. It made me understand just how much work is being done and like the tangibility of it, basically. Because sometimes it's difficult to track. It is.
Yes. It is. So, at the very face of it, it is.
That was a beautiful one, and I don't know, but it shows how the work has heart, right? So talking about how work having hearts, we deal with innovative builders, dreamers, people who have a fire in their belly to solve an issue.
Too much fire sometimes.
Fair, but fire nonetheless. So we have people like that, and then we have the community that we want to serve with these innovations. How do you walk the tightrope of social impact and profitability, trying to look at how the innovation is helping the people that you wanted to help? How do you navigate the two as an organization?
If I tell you that we have a magic formula, I'm lying. We don't. Let me categorically state it right now. We don't. But we've been around, so
you've been around a few years.
So there's a few things.
Exactly.
There's a few things that I think would that can speak to, I guess, a bit of the relevance we have right now. I would say that in the end, it's really about people, right? We are here because of people. We're here because there are needs and wants that somehow our ability to build processes and systems allows those needs and wants to be fulfilled one way or the other at some price point. And so starting from people, it gives you a very interesting baseline where no matter how the conversation goes, oh, we need to make more money or we need to do more impact, the question is, in all of these things you're doing, is it actually relevant to the people that you're serving? Because our work can also be it's a very mixed. It's a layer of servant leadership, but it's also a layer of like visioneering. It's also a layer of being a fool, like an absolute complete fool and believer in the first ideas, in the very first versions of anything that shows up, because that's the way that we all eventually build creative confidence over time.
That's true.
And so it's not been an easy mix. What most people don't realize is that many times in the past we had approached the brink of shutdown. Actually, as an institution, we had The letters were ready to be sent out. Guys, thanks for your support. We appreciate this, but we can't do this anymore kind of layout. But thankfully, we never have to get there. So I'll say the fine line between profitability, impact, and keeping the lights on is really about the people. And of course, foundationally making sure that your business model takes into account these variables. A lot of young starter entrepreneurs don't always embrace the importance of their business model and staying true to it, because the gut feeling can also throw you in different directions. But the business model doesn't entirely lie. The data is very real, and so once you plug in these variables and try to understand that, look, if you're leaning too much on just serving everyone, you might actually fail. And so you have to find a fine balance every day in a way that makes sense to your institution. And I think that because myself and the co-founding team and the entire team kind of has a buy-in in the vision, we are always able to navigate that. But it will be very, very different for every company, any other company in a different environment. But we've been very, very fortunate. But ultimately, it's the people you're serving. Like, are you doing what they want and need? And are you doing it at a price point that makes sense? Bearing in mind your other cost factors. It never ends. In fact, it's a weekly touch point for us as a team. Always looking at the numbers and making sure we are on the spot.
Constantly rethinking.
We are rethinking every single assumption, in the same way that that gut feeling is right, you also have to be able to question it. And I'm like, hey, so this direction we're taking is also not taking us anywhere. So what are we going to do about it? And it sucks when you are wrong, when you are like seen as the founder who is smart and bring ideas, and then someone in your team points out, but also this one, you are not going anywhere with this, and you have to accept. And so we've been very fortunate to have a team, yourself included, who have been very instrumental in challenging a lot of the assumptions we have about certain things.
Okay, so we've been speaking about when things don't work, if they don't work. Let's talk about when they don't work. Now, I've been with you quite a number of times to know that anytime something doesn't work, it's like, okay, so it's character building. I'm like, not this one. This one cannot be building my character, please. Not this one. So let's talk about failure and character building a bit, right? Not every idea takes shape. Not every idea takes flight.
Most fail, actually.
Yes. And given how long you've been in this game, I'm sure you've come across loads of such an experience, right? So I'm looking at failure and how you always channel it into character building. How do you see that out of that? How do you learn from the failure that you've experienced? And you can give an example of either a scenario, project or program that didn't go as you expected and how you went about defining it.
Where do we start from? I think this is very personal, and I hope it doesn't ruffle some feathers at some point. But before I go into this, I also want to acknowledge that we've been very fortunate. When we started this hub, ecosystem, so fun fact, when we started as Impact Hub Accra, there was only three of us in the entire ecosystem. There was Meltwater Entrepreneurial School of Technology, MEST. There was us, Impact Hub Accra, and then later on, a couple of months later, there was iSpace. And then in that time, today, there's easily 50 plus, if not 100 plus hubs around the entire country. And so there's been significant growth. But it wasn't always like that. It wasn't always straightforward. It still isn't straightforward. Alignment is very important with your team, right? Especially the founding team, because it's almost like a marriage. I've not been married. I don't know much about it, but when I describe what I do to my friends who are married, they're like, it's like a marriage. Sounds like it. So we had never met each other from anywhere in the world.
Yo, really?
We didn't know each other's temperaments. We didn't know what each other liked, proclivities, whatever. Like, there was no real grounded understanding in that sense.
That's interesting.
And so this idea that we could at some point just jump into go, let's build a business together and grow together. Somehow we're a bunch of people in our early 20s and late 30s. Massive age, well, kind of a decade type age gap difference, but also a lot of difference in terms of the visions we have for our individuals and, you know, our evolution in life as people. And so I think that was the hardest part. I think if there was any definition of like the hardest part of this journey, that was that aligning with our different temperaments. And I think eventually as it clicked, it became very clear that, look, this thing, businesses surviving is actually an anomaly. It's actually a normal thing that startups, early stage companies have a high mortality rate, regardless of what you did. The fact that we're still here means that we made it to the smaller percentage that eventually makes it past. And so that alignment with my co-founding team was, I think, one of the best anchors for the adversity that will eventually come over time. The question is, then what adversity did we not have? So we were kicked out of our first and second spaces by our landlords. At some point, maybe there was easily a period, like half of the year, we really struggled to pay our team. Us, the co-founders, were just going on without pay. I was a waiter on weekends. I was moonlighting, doing different things on the corner, galamseying here and there. And it was financially not a very, my relationships were just crashing left and right. And so like one of the things it does introduce at a very, and we're talking, I'm in my mid-20s here. It does introduce a lot of doubt in your mind as a young person.
That's true.
And I think that if there is any single point of failure, is that when you get to the point where the doubt overwhelms the positivity, when the doubt overwhelms you become too pessimistic to continue. I think that would have been a catastrophic failure point. But we had these things where, regardless of what it was, there was just this deep-seated belief that if we strived hard enough at being able to be the best impact hub out there, being able to provide quality product and services for the different layers of communities that we're serving, at a price point that was, again, made sense, that we could actually survive. And we just kept at it. We just kept at it over time. And that process of keeping at it was actually what evolved us to helped us shape our evolution, because we could have easily given up. And so I would say maybe there are two major failure points. The very first would have been when we nearly shut down. One of the first points when we nearly shut down, we used to be called Hub Accra back then. We were very low. We were not making enough money to cover our expenses. We're still very young team, and the reality didn't hit us until it was very late. And so we were very, very fortunate. A week or two before we decided to close the door, we had this interesting grant funding from the Tony Elumelu Foundation, actually, through Slice-Biz, which was Will's engagement at the time, and I think one or two family foundation donations at the time that really kept us going for another couple of months before we found other projects to renew and keep going. I think maybe a second time, there was a time I just lost all. Every entrepreneur goes through this phase, but there was easily a month window where I shut down. I was physically and mentally out, like completely gone. And I had to, I guess, internally raise myself up. I'm like, my guy, this thing.
What needs to be done?
We're either going back to our hometown to farm yams, which is not a bad option either, or we're just going to give it a shot and see how it goes. But I would say, in the end, it's really, in all of this, if I was to think of it from a big picture, it was always like the doubt has been the biggest point of concern, because there is I'm not the most Christian-y out there, but there is a biblical statement around, from the wellness of your heart, the wellspring of your heart, you're able to sort of create a reality for yourself. So this idea that if you continue to fortify your internal well-being, with whatever you want to call it, vibes, positivity, that in the end it does have an outward manifestation. And I think it became very apparent that I have to maintain a positive outlook regardless of the outcome. And I know this is not easy for many entrepreneurs. Like sometimes you're dealing with even money to feed yourself, money to pay for your rent, money to, for those of you that have family, black taxes, you're paying school fees for other people when you've not paid your own rent. I went through all of those. From living in a 2-bedroom place to, moving to a friend's family house and staying in one room for like a year or two so I could bounce back. And so these realities, they all shape and add flavor to who you are. And I think it really is character. That's why, in a way, I think you've known this, like almost every mishap
every time
that doesn't go, I chalk it up to character building. Obviously, we've learned enough character building, but it's never enough. You just move. You have to be able to keep moving. Okay, I've talked a lot.
Fair enough. Okay, so away from failure, let's look at legacy, right? That's Kelechi now, looking at Kelechi probably in 10 years.
Yeah.
And also speaking to upcoming founders or founders who are relatively new in the startup space.
Yep.
What is one thing that you think they should be spoken to about a bit more? Something that's not been hammered on in recent time for startup founders? Because I know I've had the opportunity to speak to some people and they're like, the founders nowadays, they are not really gritty. They don't have much strength and resilience to push through a couple of years of inaction, right? So for you, what would you say startup founders need to know that they haven't been told?
First of all, why are you choosing? Why are you doing this to yourself?
No, that's what all of you say, but you still stay inside.
Yeah,
so why you stay?
Why are you doing this to yourself? Why? Of all the paths to choose in life, why are you doing this to yourself? So I would say the entrepreneurial path is not very it's celebrated when there is success.
Yes.
And then it's. When you're a failure, it's quote unquote failure. It's even though there's a real question around if this is really failure or sometimes some ideas come before their time, some executed in a lot of unclear circumstances. There are any number of reasons, but a couple of things I would say is that from the get-go, unfortunately, the entrepreneurial path requires a little bit of irrational approach to life.
I get you.
Like a lot of things will not make sense to people around you.
I get you.
You could be also fortunate, and I'm not saying that's the case for everyone. You could be fortunate that you grew up around entrepreneurs. So I've seen friends who have grown up in entrepreneurial families, and so there's an understanding.
Yeah.
But for the most people I have come across in my line did not come from environments like that, and so you're going against the grain. Everything, we all initially were taught to go to school, learn, get good grades, and you will get a job, that kind of thing. That was a life. I didn't, that was at least, and I get it. It's a reality that it was a real, it still is a real reality for most people actually.
Yes, that's true.
But for people like me, it wasn't the case. I wish that was the case, but I can't wish anymore. The path, we're already on the path. But I would say that if you happen to find yourself in this space, and it goes back both ways. You could also have gone through that and you've gotten your dream job, and over time, as you go through you go through life, you ask yourself, is this all there is? I don't want, or your talents are showing that, okay, there are actually other things that you could be doing, or other things that you can try your hands at. Regardless of which path you eventually converge to entrepreneurship I will say the very first is to understand that it is there's an irrational self-belief that you must have. It's not enough to believe that, yes, I can do it. You have to actually do it.
Yes.
You have to deal with the imposter syndrome. You have to deal with the self-doubt. You have to deal with just questioning yourself every single day. whether if this is the right path to take, simply in a lot of ways because you just don't have the experience.
Yeah.
You just haven't been here before. And it will create all kinds of problems, family problems, personal problems, organizational problems, all of it. And if you are in that, if you happen to find yourself in that space, or you will eventually find yourself in that space regardless, I will encourage you as an entrepreneur to take a time to ask yourself, what are the things that matter to you? What is the most important things to you? And are you on track to unlocking those things? Do you feel, or are you comfortable that you're on the way there? Most times you're not. Most times you will not be, but you actually have to just keep pushing through one way or the other. If the current vision you have doesn't materialize, that the process of pushing through can or could even lead you to another path that unlock. And it's interesting, I've seen people start the entrepreneurial journey and then do the crossover into working in corporates or other established industries. And also the vice versa, people who have started out in other industries come on the entrepreneurship route. There is no, in the end, as an individual, there is no linear path to success or growth. In the end, that path is an individual decision, and you have to at some point embrace your individuality, you the individual as a person. What is it? What is that path that I want to take? What is that path that is important to me? And ruthlessly commit to it, with all due respect to feelings that will be hurt along the way and mistakes that will be made. Some could be actually catastrophic, so you also have to be very careful. But you have to ruthlessly commit to that personal vision and idea. And then over time, that will also transition into systems. So then that's at an individual level. Then when you have to deal with others, you also have to make sure there's some mission alignment. There has to be this understanding that you are looking out for each other. The world is a very rough place.
It is.
So you might as well as work and be with people who have your interest at heart, one way or the other. And I think that, for me, that was one of the biggest change. Yes, I have that individual grit and all of that, but working with people who are also like-minded made the journey a lot more smoother. As to if entrepreneurs today are gritty or resilient, I think that they are, but in different ways. Every generation raises different people depending on the resources and possibilities that are available. Today we talk about hubs and it's mainstream, right? But when we started, it was not mainstream. So our resilience or grittiness was manifested in different ways. I think the current generation have to also figure out for themselves, what is that grittiness? What does it manifest? Today, when we started, we were a very local entity that had to build global relevance over time. Today, global relevance is almost a given. Today, Ghana is on the map already. So now you have to actually compete with the rest of the world. So your level of excellence, the requirement of excellence and attention to details you have to bring to the game is much higher. So you have to really invest a lot of time into personal development as an entrepreneur. You have to really understand not just what is happening locally, but also global best practices. Because today, Ghana is not just looked as some country that is in the West African sovereign. Ghana is looked at as a leader in different categories. And so when you're speaking from a place of leadership. And I would say people actually now probably have it even harder than we have it when we were starting out, just as simple as a decade ago. So good luck. I don't know why you chose this path, but good luck to you. Your road will be hard. It will be difficult.
She gonna make it.
But you will make it, and that's part of why you're here. So don't give up, please, Miss Srel. I beg you, don't give up.
Oh my God. Okay, don't give up. All right. Coming from a man who spent a decade plus here, you've been in Osu.
Well,
for years, right?
I've lived. I grew up, yes, in Osu, but I've lived in Osu, Kokomlemle, Labadi.
Wow.
But mostly Ghana-speaking towns, so I speak Ghana quite well. My Ghana is much better than my tree, but they're all evolving.
Right. So, with the time that you spent in Osu, Do you have any favorite spots along the Oxford Street?
Oh,
I want to know. Do you have stories? We need to know.
Very good question. Actually, I can tell you, when we first moved to Ghana, people would call Osu Oxford Street. Actually, growing up in Osu, we used to call Oxford Street Ari because
Osu
Ari because the residential estates, a lot of the expansion outwards of the older Osu was towards this side, right? I really didn't. Most of us never called this area Oxford Street. One of the fondest memory I had was the annual carnival.
Okay.
That happened towards the end of the year. There's this procession that happened on this street.
Carnival.
Yes, that was the first, like, my introduction to jams. Jams in Osu back then. There was carnival on the Oxford Street, and then when we had the Homonwo processions, it kind of interconnected because a lot of the families here are all from here.
True.
Those were like two interesting cultural highlights. I didn't have any of these were not part of my growing up in Nigeria experience, so they were distinctively Osu inspired. And I'll say some sports. Papaya, my goodness.
I mean the OG.
Papaya was an interesting growing up brand that I think is still around.
It still is.
It's everywhere now. And those days, like going for our day with a papaya pack,
that was it. Yes.
My God, you were like, and it's interesting we're talking about fast food here, but you have to understand, we didn't care. Having papaya in your our day baskets, Calipo, Foster Clarks, the Achomo, and all the different things mixed together had really, for the young man, it was just inspiring. And yeah, I had those exciting periods. And in my I guess adulthood, I think Republic Bar will be another one of my favorite spots. I started visiting that place in the very first week they had opened, and it's been this place we all go to from time to time. But over time, Oxford Street has also evolved and changed over time. Earlier before that, I've been told that there were traders, Nigerian traders, West African traders selling math sets and academic books and things on the street. So it's like it's gone through its own evolution over time. Lots of literature actually around it, but this is just my frame of reference at the moment. And other spots also around Osu. There was the Osu Regal. There's the Regal Cinema back then, close to Laminex, the Asbestos factory. Now it's gone. I used to go to the police house. The Ghana police has a horse stable in Osu.
Horse stable?
Yes, and they will give like neighborhood kids a ride around on the beach. And during the Independence Days, if you go to Bema Camp, if you are fortunate to go early enough, you can get on the list of people to be given free rides on the Ghana Air Force planes back in the days. And the late presidents, Jerry John, some of the early memories I had, actually I saw Atamils and Jerry John Roddy's almost in the same week. Atamils, when he was in the late 90s campaigning he was in the NDC, hardcore, just moving around, just talking about, campaigning and things.
Stuff.
And then Jerry John Roddy back then would come out to, when people were doing these cleanup exercises, he would like, come up, quick. I didn't, you're very young, so you didn't know who people. It was much later in life. I'm like, oh wait, so these are the people I saw back then. So very, very interesting memories, and just the process of learning to speak Ghana. It wasn't easy being a young person coming to Ghana for the first time.
Learning a new language.
When actually I was also struggling with English because I spoke Igbo first before English.
Okay.
And so I have to translate in my mind to Igbo first before it goes to English, and then adding Ga to the layer. Whoa.
Oh wow, you've been through a lot.
And so my classmates would laugh.
Oh.
They enjoyed laughing at me, and they enjoyed it. And I'm glad it gave them a sense of joy.
Wow.
I'm glad because that's how I've made a lot of friends in that, and that's how we've stayed. People still call me by weird statements I made back then, but we've maintained good friendship, and it's been a net positive in my experience so far.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have one bonus question for you.
Yes.
So let's say WopeCar gave you a Prado.
Yes, with the sunroof.
With the sunroof, yes. A Prado with the sunroof, and they said you could go anywhere
Yes.
in Ghana. Actually, maybe out. Where would you go, and what would you do when you get there?
When you say anywhere.
Anywhere in Ghana.
What about both of the two of them?
Anywhere in and out of Ghana.
Hey God.
They have given you Prado full tank.
Yeah. Okay, I'll ask for three options. Okay. I'll ask for three things to be done.
Let's hear it.
The first is to drive. Actually, four. Now that we're asking, let me ask.
Okay,
so you
sorry.
don't know.
Sorry.
So there are two things. Thankfully, I've been very fortunate to be around Ghana. I've traveled around Ghana quite a bit.
Yeah.
I used to volunteer a lot, teaching literacy, children literacy and things like that. I would like to, one of the first is to go back to my old volunteering roots and just take the kids around for a joyride.
That's nice.
I will absolutely love to go joyriding with the kids. I think that there is just something fundamental about sparking curiosity and interest in kids who don't have all the resources, but you know that spark will lead to other things. The second, either Western region or Volta region. Western region, somewhere around Axim. The waters and the bayfront over there are amazing. You get to used to hang out with the local fishermen a lot.
Oh, of course.
I would go on the trip with them, and you'd fish and things like that. In the Volta, I used to hang out with the farmers a lot. There's a lot of vegetable farms. Because I grew up I was born in a farming community, so I was close to growing things. Anywhere on the shores of the Volta Lake that has massive farms and things, I'd like to spend some time there.
Okay.
Because these things are dear to my heart. And then the third and fourth, a road trip to Lagos and chills. Enjoy small there and come back, or a road trip to Abidjan.
Yes.
And mind you, the Lagos one, you're not just driving straight to Lagos. You spend a day or two in Lomé. And then another day or two in Cotonou, and then you continue.
That is a road trip.
And then for Abidjan, it's fairly straightforward. You drive from Accra there.
I hate it.
It's a long trip, but it's worth it in the end when you combine all of those. So WopeCar, you've heard.
Give him the freedom to go places.
Please.
The Prado.
Add it.
With the sunroof.
Thank you.
You want the Prado with the sunroof.
To the mix. But yeah, that's it.
Aw, thank you so much, Kelechi.
Thank you for your time.
I had a great ride with you, and that's a wrap for this beautiful ride. Thank you so much, Kelechi, for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Thank you for talking about the big wins, the failures, and everything that we could possibly learn, including the history of Hub Accra, Slice Biz, Impact Hub Accra. It was lovely sharing that time with you. And thank you all for also joining us as we celebrate WopeCar turning 8.
Whoa!
Yes, remember, actually. So remember, it's been 8 amazing years making bold moves, trying to take you to your places safer, smarter, and smoother. I hope you enjoy the rest of the episodes. We have about 8 of them in total. And until the next one, remember, whenever you need a ride, WopeCar is the one that gives you the freedom to go places. Take care, guys.